All right. Well, this was a good episode, and until next week, we will continue to watch the good, the bad, and the cheaply made.
Thanks.
So are you getting a lot of Halloween decorations up your way?
Well, this year I don't see a tremendous
Yeah,
amount.
I don't see a lot of it around here either.
Yeah, certainly plenty of stuff in the stores, but we have some neighbors that are very big on putting up very elaborate decorations. And actually, one neighbor right across the street from where I am has put out a glowing ghost that really you could light up the whole street. We don't really need street lights
Yeah.
on this block. The whole street is lit up by the glowing ghost.
I take it they
But
don't let it run all night, do they?
I don't think so. I hope not. I mean, it would be like that episode of Seinfeld with
With
the
Kenny
neon
Roasters. Yeah, the
sign.
Kenny Roasters chicken.
Right, yeah. But I mean, I don't mind that so much in Halloween season. It's nice to have,
Yeah.
colorful
Yeah, I love
decorations.
seeing it. I guess people just aren't into it this year for some reason. Maybe
Could be
it's
the
the
money.
impending nuclear doom. I don't know.
Could be, yeah. The inflation
That could
probably
be it,
is,
yeah.
people just don't have the money to spend on it. I mean, I'm sure there are some people that almost almost like a religious thing. They have
Oh,
to put
yeah.
up a lot, just like Christmas. Some people put up absurdly elaborate
Oh,
Christmas
yeah.
decoration.
You see them I see the videos all the time on YouTube or Facebook where they're syncing it to like Metallica and it's like doing this elaborate. I'm like, oh my God, calm down.
It seems a little too much,
A
but
little
I
too
mean,
much, yeah.
if people are willing to take the time and there's a certain amount of creativity that goes into it, and as long as they're willing to spend the money for the stuff, why not? Right?
Oh, yeah.
A lot of worse things that people could be doing with their time.
Yeah. And their
Uh,
money, yeah.
yeah, and I guess Halloween, the decorations have the added benefit of sort of acting like a stage setting for the kids when they go trick or
When they go
treating.
trick-or-treating, yeah.
They know which houses they're likely to
Stay
get
away
something
from,
from.
yeah. Don't go to the house that gives away the little Bibles.
That's right. Yes. Right. Whenever I think about putting any sort of decorations in front of my house, I always think, am I obligating myself here?
To
Am I
give
going
out
to have to be
candy, yeah.
giving out candy? So that's why nobody will see any decorations on my house.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a fun holiday. It's nice to have a holiday that doesn't really mean anything, so people
Oh,
can
yeah.
just enjoy it.
Yeah. Like I said, people will talk about it for a little bit and then it's here and then it's gone.
Right.
Next thing you know, it's Thanksgiving.
Right. And we can save our pumpkins and make pumpkin pie for Thanksgiving.
There you go.
So it's nice how that worked out.
And everybody can start putting up their Christmas lights.
God help us.
Yeah. Because I know
Right.
that'll be big around here. I know I'll see a lot of that around here.
The folks go all out in your neighborhood?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a few that go all out here too. They like those big balloon things that inflate and
Oh,
sort
yeah.
of wave back Santa Clauses and whatnot. Those things are kind of tacky.
Yeah, a little bit. Especially when you get like they'll have like a gigantic Shrek with a Santa hat on.
That's class, right?
Yeah.
But then I see one of the is it Home Depot or maybe it's Walmart? I don't know. They're selling these giant skeletons that
I think it's Home Depot.
yeah. Somebody did a video of what the giant skeletons from Home Depot do in their spare
Yeah.
time. I don't know if you saw that. It's kind of amusing. Surprisingly elaborate.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, any country that has 12-foot tall skeletons on sale around the holidays, then we're not in such bad shape.
No, we're doing pretty good.
I think so.
We could be doing a lot worse, I guess.
I expect to be doing a lot worse in the near future. So, I may be one of the giant skeletons that they'll be selling. But what are your? Do you have? I think you said in our last episode that your Halloween plans include watching endless.
Just watch
Halloween
some movies. Yeah, I may watch May watch Halloween again. Probably watch part 3. Maybe watch the Rob Zombie ones again. I don't know.
Oh,
I guess what I could do is maybe finally get around to watching E.T. I don't know why I've never seen it. I don't know if it was just the time it came out, I just wasn't interested in it. And then once I got older, I was like, well, that's a kid's movie. I don't want to really want to sit through it.
well,
But I
interesting.
feel like I should watch it though. I feel like I'm missing out on something.
Well, yeah, I don't know if it's necessarily a Halloween movie, but interestingly, a large part of it takes place at Halloween.
Yeah,
So I guess it could be considered a Halloween movie. But I always felt that it had more of a Christmassy feeling.
right.
And I think that Spielberg said that he had the alien spacecraft designed to look like a Christmas tree ornament. But I guess that was true of Close Encounters as well.
Yeah.
Uh,
I mean, I love Spielberg. Everything I've seen of his, I've enjoyed. I just don't know why I've never watched E.T.
well, that is strange. I think I might have a copy if you need to get it, but I imagine that's
Does
probably
it have the guns or the radios?
no. I wouldn't be bothered with a copy that doesn't have all the original stuff.
Yeah.
I want that radio crap. I assume the radio version also had uh, Oliver and Baldy's animatronics replaced by CGI.
I'm not sure. I just know there was big controversy about them replacing the guns with the radios. That's the only thing I know that he tried to fix or update in it.
Yeah, that was a mistake, and to his credit, he figured that out, and
Yeah.
he put it back in its original form, which is smart. I guess we went through a period there when CGI first started to become really, all over the place. That filmmakers said, even people that had resisted it, they started to say, well, why not? Let's give this a
Yeah.
try.
Let's
Maybe we can
try
do
it.
this, we can do that. And, I guess my objection to that is that the integrity of the movie is not really something you can necessarily explain. It may not be clear why a movie works and why it feels right,
Yeah.
the way it was done. If you have a successful movie, probably best not to make major changes. And it's certainly a bad idea to actually insert stuff into the image itself, like radios in place of guns. I thought that was particularly foolish because the the thing about E.T. was that it wasn't really a children's movie. It was a movie that everybody loved. The
Yeah.
adults enjoyed. The original audience for it, the folks that came out initially for it, were adults, and they thought it was smart and moving and charming.
I think the problem maybe, and this may be just me thinking about it, I think, and I can't remember the time frame of when it happened, but I think it almost felt too political. Of like, oh, school shootings, we're gonna go in and remove the guns from a movie that we made
Yes,
back in the
yes.
80s. And
Well,
I
that
think
might
it
have
came
been,
off as pushing an agenda on people
but
type of thing,
but
whether that was his intention or not, I don't know.
no, I think that probably has, there's an aspect of that. I think unfortunately, what happened though, as a result, is that they took away the only real hard element in the movie.
Yeah.
There's no other menace or no other danger in the movie.
Yeah, it basically
So,
turned all the FBI agents into mall cops.
right. The reason why Spielberg's movies, the ones that we might regard as children's movies, the reason why they can be enjoyed by adults is they always have some real menace.
Yeah.
There's a dark side to them that make them palatable or interesting to adults. And when you take that away, and then it really just does become a child's movie. Then it might just well be Mac and Me,
Yeah.
dancing with Ronald McDonald,
Yeah.
But yeah, I think E.T. is a wonderful film, and it's interesting to me because it seems like he had these ideas that he wanted to do something about aliens and UFOs, and Close Encounters was this enormous effort trying to stick in every idea that he had about this type of story. And Close Encounters is a film I love, but I always felt that its biggest weakness is that it was sort of forced. The emotion of it was sort of forced.
Yeah.
It was the music and the spectacle of it that make us feel like something really moving is happening. Whereas with E.T., it's like refinement. It gets down to the core of the idea, and it's far more effective emotionally. It's a moving film because he got rid of all the spectacle and just reduced it to the idea that actually works
All right.
dramatically.
Yeah.
Close Encounters is like a really skilled director doing everything he can to hype the dramatic impact of every scene.
Right. Yeah.
And E.T., it's almost like he could stand back a little bit and just let the story,
Yeah.
the story is magical by itself.
It must be.
So,
Is it got some kind of anniversary? Because I'm starting to see more like ET products in the store now.
oh, really? Yeah.
Yeah, we actually have. What was it? There was some kind of action figures from the '80s, and they didn't have any legs. Like you would put them in like they're little, like little people, and you could put them in like cars and stuff, but they didn't have
I think I
legs.
remember
But they
that.
have a
Yeah.
set of, I guess it's Elliot, E.T., and then his sister Drew Barrymore. I guess it's a little set of them, or maybe it's the mom. I don't know. But let's assume it's some. I'm assuming it's got some kind of anniversary coming up.
Well, yeah, and probably Christmas time would be the time that people would start uh, being interested in a film like
Yeah,
that again. Yeah. So they want to have the merchandise handy. A re-release of the movie probably is necessary to get people to buy the toys,
yeah,
right? But maybe we're in an age now with the streaming channels where you don't really need to do a theatrical re-release anymore.
no,
Maybe they're just the presence of those films on streaming would make them popular as toy things, merchandise things. So uh, that's a good film. It's not a film I revisit very often,
right.
but I think the criticism of it in recent years is probably unfair.
I guess I'll watch it. I'll watch it before the year's over.
Well, probably a good movie for
Yeah,
around Christmas time. Yeah, it has a Christmassy feel, even though it takes place at Halloween.
yeah. Have you seen the? I guess they're making a sequel to Christmas Story.
No, I haven't seen it, and I don't expect it
Yeah, I
unless they
don't.
come and force me to watch it. I
Yeah.
don't expect it to be safe.
Man, I know they already made a sequel because it was like a summer vacation
That I do
story
vaguely
with the
remember.
same,
Yeah.
but I guess this right here is actually gonna be a Christmas themed one where I guess Ralphie's now grown up and moves back to the old house or something. I don't know. I don't
Well,
care. I'm not gonna watch it.
yeah, I guess they did their research and they discovered that there might be some audience for it. I suppose it's as good a idea as anything else that they're doing
Oh
right
yeah.
now. Uh, we do seem to be stuck in the rut as far as franchises are
Redoing
concerned.
everything. Here's how bad it's getting. So
Right?
they
They're actually digging to a Christmas Story.
yeah. Well, it's getting even worse now because they just had a new doctor on Doctor Who.
Oh yeah.
So the first female doctor, she's now regenerated. And instead of being somebody new, she regenerated back to David Tennant, who was
Oh
the 10th
gosh.
doctor. So now they can't even come up with anything new. They got to go back.
Was he a
Gonna go
particularly
back.
popular
Yeah,
doctor?
yeah. He was the of the new series. He was probably the most popular. He was the longest running one also.
Well, it's sort of like we almost had that in British politics. We almost got Boris Johnson back again.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, he was
I
smart
just, I just,
enough.
I just thought it was weird. It's like, okay, you're out of ideas. You're going to go back to a previous doctor. It's like, okay, it might be time to just end this show.
Well, sometimes that's the best thing. Yeah, you let the little demand build up for a few years, and then when you go back to it, you can try something
Yeah,
new.
I think
But
it's what they probably should have done was just stopped it and
do
then
you
came
still
back.
watch it on a regular basis?
No, I watched and I watched a couple of her episodes. I really enjoyed her as the doctor. I just lost interest in it. Just
Yeah.
didn't watch it anymore.
Well, anytime I see a show where there's a constant discussion of some one aspect of it, like who's playing the lead character,
Yeah,
it starts to feel kind of almost like an obligation, like we have to
yeah,
pay attention to this. And it's just, I don't care. If the thing isn't entertaining, effortlessly entertaining, especially something like that,
yeah,
uh, why bother, right? It's not like we don't have plenty of Doctor Who as it is. And I'll say the same thing for Star Trek, and
yeah.
James Bond and all these other characters. We got all this stuff. It's readily available to everybody who wants to watch it. Why do you keep forcing new stuff on
New
us?
stuff. Yeah,
And why do we have to suffer? I guess this is just part of being alive in the internet age, having to suffer with all these stories online about who the next so and so is going to be, and
Yeah.
it's, oh shit,
I'd
who
rather just, I
cares?
mean, if I were going to, like, I didn't follow, I had no idea, like, what they were planning on doing. But even back when I followed the show, I wanted to be surprised. I didn't want to know. I wanted to sit down, watch the episode, and find out then who it was. I didn't want
Yeah,
to
yeah.
speculate about who it was, or it
Well, the
takes away from it.
speculation about all aspects of the superhero movies, the casting, who's going to play this character, and almost like fantasy football,
Yeah,
uh, I just, I guess like, it could be worse.
yeah,
It could be people talking all the time about sports rather than, but I just don't know how people, even when we talk about some of these franchises like Halloween or Friday the 13th, the fact that there are channels where there's nothing but discussion about the little minute differences between
yeah,
different movies and which one this person likes versus this person likes the other
yeah,
one. Uh, I mean, there really isn't that much there in these movies. There's,
no,
it's almost like a confection, right? Like a cake. If you have to think about it too much, then
yeah,
it's not really enjoyable. Uh, but I realize that's not a popular attitude, and there's a
no.
whole industry
Based
about
off of it, yeah,
people talking about uh, comic book characters and their movie incarnations, and that'll go on for a long time to come.
oh yeah,
Now I guess the big debate is whether or not Black Adam is a good
it's a
uh,
good superhero.
DC movie. Yes,
Yeah, I think I've seen a lot of. I haven't watched them. Just seeing when you're on YouTube, it gives you recommendations of like. So now the thing is, did they just completely copy Marvel?
right.
I'm like, well, the characters were all ripped off from each other anyways back when they were first created. So
That's true. Yeah,
of course, Marvel has an Ant-Man and DC has the Atom. You know what I'm saying? That's
right.
the same. So I mean, yeah. But whether that movie ripped them off, then no.
Yeah, the movies just, I mean, they have that advantage that the
Yeah,
characters are the characters that have been in existence for decades, and they just happen to almost mirror perfectly what the
because
stable of
I mean, you
characters.
had writers from DC that would quit and go to work for Marvel and
Sure.
say, "Hey, here's a character that I kind of made, and
Right.
oh look, it looks exactly like this other character."
Yeah, there was a lot of back and forth and a lot of imitation, and I guess because comic books were never really considered that important, nobody really cared that
Nobody
much.
cared. Yeah, nobody cared
Right.
that it was a.
There was the famous case of um, national periodicals or whatever they were called back then, DC or
Yeah,
National, suing Fawcett for Captain Marvel.
yeah,
And the only reason I assume that they did that is because it was clear that Captain Marvel was uh, becoming more popular than Superman.
yeah.
Sales were going beyond Superman, so they had to do something to save
Oh yeah,
their.
yeah. That would have been obvious if like Marvel would have all of a sudden came out with a Batman character. It would have been obvious. But yeah, to
Yeah,
have two, like, and I think that's where Marvel kind of when they went off to do more of the mythical lore gods and stuff like that. I think that's where I think that was pretty smart.
like Thor and things like that.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah,
So DC was more alien, and then humans, based on reality were, and then Marvel went way left field with all of it.
yeah. Well, that was particular that the '60s when he came up with characters like Stan Lee came with along with his collaborators came up with uh, the Hulk and Doctor Strange and Spider-Man and the Fantastic Four and Thor. That was a pretty fertile period for him. He was churning them out, but they were all based on things that
Yeah,
came before. And I always thought that the Hulk was very similar to some of the science fiction movies that were coming out around that time. Amazing Colossal Beast and War of the Colossal Man or whatever,
yeah,
War of the Colossal Beast. The premise is basically the same, and even the creature itself is similar. Uh, uh, Fantastic Four, I think Stanley more or less admitted that he based that on Doc Savage. Doc Savage had his Amazing Five. So
Yeah.
they just took away one person.
Took one away, yeah.
Right. And even there, all the characters are uh, similar to other existing characters. And Mr. Fantastic is basically Plastic Man.
Plastic Man, yeah.
And I guess the Human Torch had been a character that Timely / Marvel had from the 1940s.
Yeah.
So, they all these characters have some previous version. They have some inspiration that they're borrowing from other characters, other films, other comic books. Batman, of course, was as I think we talked about this fairly recently, was taken from some pulp characters. It bears a
Right, yeah.
similarity to the Shadow, but there also was a character called the Black Bat that bore a striking resemblance to what Batman became. And Doc Savage was plundered by the Superman writers.
Yeah.
They even stole his first name, Clark, and the Fortress of Solitude. All of that came from
Yeah.
Doc Savage.
Yeah, there was
So,
a there was a gag in the Justice League cartoon where they were some kind of crisis was going on and all this, all the kind of B heroes were showing up because your A celebrities were out fighting the big guy, so they were doing like crowd control and all this. And you had Elongated Man, Plastic Man, and Elastic Man all show up. And one of them's like, we already have, we don't need you. We were already gonna play a stretchy person. It was pretty funny the way they done it.
I always thought that was for a comic that was meant to be taken seriously. That was always probably one of the more absurd superpowers. And
Yeah.
Plastic Man was always kind of a comedy, comic.
Yeah.
But I guess Fantastic Four in its early incarnation had a lot of humor in it as well. When Jack Kirby and Stan Lee were doing it, it had a comedic quality to it.
Yeah.
So that may be the reason why Marvel eventually became more popular than DC. They had a sense of humor. They
Yeah.
were sort of self-aware in a way that DC didn't seem to be.
I think that's what made, other than, I like the Tim Burton Batman, but that's the only one. But other than those other Batman movies that they made that were more dark and serious, you know what I'm saying? I think that's what made Marvel more superior when it came to their movies because they were more fun and light.
Yeah, and uh, the funny thing is that the most successful Batman prior to the Batman movies was a colorful, campy,
TV
comedic
show.
version.
Yeah.
And even Tim Burton's first film was pretty campy and
Yeah.
cartoony, but it had a darker side to it,
Yeah.
nasty side to it. But it certainly was nothing like what we saw with Christopher Nolan.
What's so
Batman.
funny about that one though is like the Batman character and the setting are more darker than your villain. The Joker was
Right.
like what Jack Nicholson playing was just like,
He was the colorful character.
yeah.
Yes. Well, I think probably we've seen every different variation on the Batman story that we can
Yeah.
do, but it doesn't seem, probably it's not going to stop them from making more.
Oh no. I'm sure they'll continue to always make those movies.
It would be nice if somebody could get back to making Superman movies that were as entertaining as that first Superman movie,
Oh yeah.
but maybe that is impossible, now. Maybe that's just, we can't go back to
I know. I know.
you
I
know.
don't know what kind of reception a Christopher Reeve Superman would get nowadays if it was a new movie.
Well, that's true. Yeah, it's hard to say. We have a
They
certain
kind of done that
affection.
with Superman Returns, but it wasn't as comedic. It
Right.
still had more of a serious tone to it. And of
Yeah.
course, that bombed horribly, but
Yeah. So I guess it's best not to try to go backwards.
yeah.
Uh, it whatever I suppose ultimately what I would hope for is that we get new stuff, something that
Yeah.
isn't a new version of
Yeah.
something we've already seen 1,000 times. But that seems to be hard to do as well. I mean, whoever thought that? We figured we got all the Lord of the Rings movies, we got the Hobbit movies, which really nobody really wanted.
Yeah.
If we're honest about it. And now we thought, okay, we're done. That's done. and now we got more Lord of the Rings, you know, and more Game of Thrones. It's like, holy shit,
Yeah.
did it again. And I guess it won't end because there's
No.
apparently they still are popular. They still make money with them. So
Yeah, I guess everybody still watch it. As long as they watch it, I guess they're gonna continue to make it. So
people get what they deserve.
yeah, and they'll complain about it.
Well, of course, yes. I thought it was interesting. Was it the Game of Thrones
I guess that
sequel?
that season finale, I guess, was caused a big controversy.
What was the controversy about? Do you know?
I'm not for sure. I didn't watch it. I didn't go to. I think it was maybe had something to do with the way they treated a kid on there, but I don't
Oh,
know.
well, the thing that caught my eye, and this isn't the first time this has happened. I don't know if it was on the Game of Thrones series. What is that called now? I don't know.
House of Dragons or something.
House of Dragons. Well, we'll go with that.
Yeah.
Dragon House. It was either that or the Lord of the Rings sequel series, which I don't know the name of either.
Yeah.
That they had people complaining about the image being too dark. Did we discuss this in a previous episode?
I think it's the Lord of the Rings. I remember seeing videos of people of them making a joke of like, oh, here's me watching Lord of the Rings, and they're holding a light up to their TV the whole time. You know,
And
I think
this
it
is not
was
the first time
Power
that
of the
this happened.
Ring is what that's called. I think.
Wait, it may be that some of the people it was their settings on their
So
TV.
yeah, on the TV. Yeah.
Maybe some of the TVs, as an energy saving thing, it might actually start to get darker. If it's a very dark image, it starts to get darker because it doesn't realize the TV
Yeah.
doesn't know there's anything on the screen.
Well, I guess that's
Uh,
the problem nowadays, because you think back when you just had aerial television, then that was the same signal everybody was getting.
right.
And even when you got like cable boxes from your cable company, they were still kind of all the same. Now you've got Roku's and Apple TV and
Right.
Blu-ray players that do streaming, and it's kind of hard to know how do you make the show or the movie look right on all these different devices.
Yeah, it is a challenge. But the other thing is that back when they were doing broadcast TV, they had a thing called broadcast legal images, what they used to
Yeah,
call them. And in other words, in order to be broadcast, it had to have a certain level of brightness.
right. Yeah,
And if you didn't have that, then your show didn't go on the air.
yeah,
And that way they could, and that's why a lot of people look at these shows now and they say, "Oh, it seems too bright."
too bright. Yeah,
But by making it a little over bright, they made sure that every set, whether it was a color set or a black and white set, however it was adjusted, whatever the settings were, you would still be able to see the picture. And now it seems to me to be rather embarrassing that they spend all this money on a show and they have to make up these excuses about this being artistic or
yeah.
creative intentions.
We didn't want anybody to see it. That's
Right.
why
I
we
mean, it
made it
just
so
doesn't
dark.
make sense,
Yeah,
right? Some people were posting screenshots of their TVs with what appeared to be black screen, how could that be the intent of the
yeah,
artist, So there's a problem there. Like I say, it's not the first time we've heard this. I think actually back when Game of Thrones was still on the air, they had a couple of episodes that people complained about as being too dark.
too dark. Yeah,
So it does the ability that we all have now to adjust video images and the way they shoot things, the way they acquire things now, uh, which leaves them a lot of room to adjust the brightness and the darkness and the contrast and the colors and everything else. And we're basically in a situation where there are no rules anymore. It's very
yeah,
hard to trust your eyes,
yeah,
And I guess they use all sorts of waveform things to meters to judge the light levels and everything. But I suppose it is possible for people when they're working on these shows to fool themselves into thinking that since it looks okay on their monitor, that it'll be
yeah.
okay for everybody else.
Everywhere else, yeah.
But what is often forgotten, and I have to admit, I've done this myself when I worked on videos. You're thinking strictly in terms of what you're seeing on the timeline of your editing software, and you forget the first step after you finish is to export it as a greatly compressed file.
Yeah.
So a lot of information is going to be thrown out, and is usually that results in a brighter picture, actually.
Yeah.
But you don't, who knows nowadays? But I mean, who knows with the, I don't know, what are we up to now as far as 4K? Is that
I think 8K is starting to become a little bit more popular, but I don't think
so
anybody's buying 8K TVs yet.
that yes, I assume it'll be a while before we do.
Yeah.
And I don't really know what the advantage would be for the average person. I can see what the advantage would be for a filmmaker to shoot in 8K because
Yeah.
it gives you a lot more,
To work with.
a lot to work with. Yeah, but I don't know. It's I've been saying for a very long time now that movies are too damn dark, and
Yeah.
TV shows as well. And I always assumed that it was a way that they were hiding the inherent video-ishness of the image.
Yeah.
Spending a fortune on these shows, and they're using equipment which they would not have used a decade or so back because they said, no, we don't, people don't like the look of video.
Yeah.
So they are doing now a lot of different things to try to make the video look less like video. Because if you shoot, even with the best camera, if you shoot footage in a sort of careless way, you can end up with stuff that looks like video.
Yeah.
So they have to find a way to ensure that it won't look like video. And as I've learned from my own experience, sometimes the best thing to do is to just darken everything.
Yeah.
Because that's the thing that bothers people the most about video, is that it has a tendency to look too bright and
Too bright and flat.
and it's too contrasty. You have
Mm.
burned out whites and crushed blacks
Yeah.
within an inch of each other. So that this is they reduce the contrast to make everything darker, reduce highlights on everything, or eliminate highlights on everything. And now, because of the computer software that's widely available, it's very easily done.
Oh yeah.
I was working on some artwork for Sleepless Nights recently, and I had come up with like 3 or 4 different versions of the same key art, and I realized that I couldn't really decide which one looked best. Does it look best with this tint of blue on it, or does it look best with a tint of green on it? Should it be darker? Should it be more contrasty? And really, it's kind of hard to say because, first of all, because you don't know what people are going to be looking at it on, right? And I made the mistake of going around with the file on my smartphone and showing friends and say, "What do you think of this?" And you really can't get a feel for it, on a smartphone. But that's the world we're living in now.
Yeah. You probably wouldn't actually know till you maybe got a decent print of it, see what it looks like.
Yeah, well, ultimately, I think that probably is if you got a nice big poster of
Yeah.
it, or even if you just had it printed out as a DVD cover or something, you'd get a clearer idea. That is another thing that's a problem, not that anybody's making DVDs too much anymore, but
Yeah.
DVDs, typical like the black case, would have a supposedly clear plastic
Yeah.
wrap around it, and you would slip the cover in between. And the problem is that those clear plastic covers, they're not really that clear.
They're not that clear, no.
And they're hard, they reduce the visibility of the artwork. So when you're doing the artwork, you're always wondering, should I pop this up a little bit more, make it brighter?
Make it stand out through that plastic, yeah.
And the answer is probably there is no answer. That
No.
it's entirely, it's a judgment call, and it's something about the particular art that you're doing. Could be another reason why you don't see the sort of elaborate posters that you used to see.
Yeah.
A lot of detail and figures and things like that. Like when the James Bond series was at its height.
Yeah, well, those were hand painted though, so that
hand painted, right?
he didn't have to worry about calibrating his monitor to.
That's true, yes. But at some point, somebody had to take a photograph of it, and print it up, and but now you see just like mostly faces.
Yeah.
And you don't get anything with any detail, and I guess it makes sense because most of the people that are going to see these movies are going to see them on streaming, where they just are looking at a little thumbnail, or they're going to be, maybe one of the few people that are still buying physical media,
Yeah.
in which case they'll see it in a little DVD that's, about the size of a paperback book. So, I mean,
Yeah,
it's
I
something.
love his old hand-drawn posters.
Oh, me too. Yeah,
Like,
that's
Star Wars, Indiana Jones, those were great posters. And then even going back to like the sci-fi B movies,
they're
when they
wonderful.
would hand
Yeah,
paint all those are all great.
they're wonderful. For me, if I would have loved to have had a career doing that, but I don't think anybody has a career doing it
Yeah.
anymore. Um, yeah, it's a wonderful because very often the poster managed to fulfill the promise that those movies made.
Yeah.
It wasn't true of Star Wars and Indiana Jones, but certainly those old science fiction movies. Very often the audience only got what they came to see by looking at the poster.
As a
The
poster,
stuff wasn't in the movie,
yeah.
and the artists that they employed were so talented that they really are art, in
Oh
my
yeah.
opinion. I have quite a few collections of those posters and the old pulp magazine covers that were
Yeah.
done by some of the same artists. They're really wonderful.
I think it was was it Towering Inferno?
Oh, yeah,
That was
yeah,
a great like because it was the almost a shot down of the building.
yes.
That's a great poster.
That was uh, I forget the name of the guy. Oh, geez. I used to love his posters.
Yeah.
I think he also did the posters, if I'm not mistaken. He also did the
Mhm.
posters for Dino De Laurentiis's King Kong,
Oh yeah.
which is a good example of exactly what I was just talking about. The poster is the best thing about the movie.
Yeah.
That
Yeah, that was the one
scene,
where he's on the World Trade Center, right?
right, right, with holding a burning helicopter and
Yeah.
all the detail is what that particular artist, and we'll have to add the name of the guy. I think
Yeah.
he's
I'll
passed
look it up.
away. But yeah, he was a wonderful artist. His stuff is just fantastic. Uh, then the attention to details, of course, is what makes it. Because if you saw a poster like that in the subway or in a bus stand, you could spend a half hour just looking
Just
at all
looking at
those
it, yeah.
details. They're wonderful, but you don't see that anymore.
No, they're all the same. They just copy
Yeah.
what the other movie done.
There's extraordinary similarity between the campaigns, even for major studio productions. They all
Oh yeah.
basically fall into certain categories, and they just imitate the art over and over.
Yep,
So
it's always the main character's heads looking different ways with something going up the middle.
right,
It's all different colors.
we had a
And they
period
all look
there.
the same.
We had a period there where it seemed all the heroes had to stand with their backs to
Yeah.
the viewer.
Looking over
Uh,
their shoulder.
I guess that meant they were serious business going on there.
Yeah.
But well, what are you going to do? We certainly make things sound very gloomy. Uh, but is there anything that we could recommend? Anything that you would can think of that you would give your full-throated endorsement to,
Um, you mean just for like,
other than Demon Resurrection? Of
yeah,
course.
you mean for like Halloween or
Anything that's coming out now that you really think is good? Is there anything that you could point
um
us to?
there's one that I haven't seen yet. It's an A24 movie. And
Mhm.
I think it's stop motion animation and it's called Marcel the Shell with the Tennis Shoes on. It's
Yeah.
basically a little stop motion animation about a shell, like a snail shell that has like shoes on, and he's trying to get back to his family. It's supposed to be pretty good, but
Well, it
I
certainly
know it
sounds like
just
an A24 movie.
yeah I know it just got a physical release, so I'm going to maybe try to track that one down and watch it.
Mhm. Yeah, well, it sounds intriguing. Those little oddball films can
Yeah.
be kind of fun. Yeah. Well, I can't really think of anything right now that I would recommend. I with the Halloween holiday in mind, I sprung for Blu-rays of Mystery of the Wax Museum and Dr. X, two
Oh, okay. Yeah.
movies that were made back in the 30s in color, unusual. They're like
Yeah.
two-strip Technicolor, and Lionel Atwill and Fay Ray. House of Wax was a remake of Mystery of the Wax Museum.
Yeah.
So those have a nice Halloweeny feeling to them. Actually, Dr. X also has a sort of old dark house quality to it.
Yeah.
So it's right up my alley. But other than that, life has been far too entertaining for me.
Yeah. Well, I know I'll have by the time this comes out, I would have already made this recommendation on my daily spooky recommendations I've been on Facebook. But the Charlie Brown, Great Pumpkin King, Great
Right.
Pumpkin, and the Garfield Halloween special. I
Oh, those
recommend
are two.
those.
Yes, those
Yeah.
are two good ones.
I just discovered they have the Garfield one on YouTube for free.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
So I saw somebody on Facebook giving you grief because you mentioned Blair Witch Project as a
Yeah,
choice.
I don't know why so many people don't like that one.
It seems always that the critics of that film always seem to be insistent that somehow we were tricked into liking it.
Yeah.
It was the hype, right?
Why did we see a witch?
Why do we
I'm
see
like,
a witch?
yeah, yeah. I think that's
But
what people expect. They expected to see something.
well,
When that's not. I mean, I'm where I grew up at. I've been in the woods after dark, and it's fucking creepy. You don't
yeah.
need to actually see a witch. So when I went and seen it in the theater, that's what I got out of it was this is creepy just being in the woods, you know.
Oh yeah. Well, I have to
And
admit
the
that.
fact that have them just screaming and because they are seeing stuff that we're not seeing, that's what
Right.
also put the chill down your spine, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know why I get so much hate.
It was the last film that I saw in theaters that really scared me.
Yeah.
Especially the ending. It was sort of like a delayed reaction because it all went by very quickly, and maybe I'm not an attentive viewer, but I found it very suspenseful and impressive up to the end. And then on the way out, the person I was seeing the movie with explained the ending to me, and that
Yeah.
it's even more disturbing, you know,
Yeah, yeah.
that the guy was, was facing the wall, you know, and all that sort of thing. And
Yeah, like he did with the kids. Yeah.
right. So that was, yeah, that's very impressive. The fact that the movie hasn't, that the people who made the movie haven't gone on to a string of great
Bigger
horror
hits,
films,
yeah.
that doesn't really matter. I mean, if you can make one good
No.
movie, that's an accomplishment, and
Yeah. I mean, I know they've made other ones. They're obviously not going to top that one, but
it'd be hard to, yeah.
yeah.
I mean, it didn't herald the arrival of a new genius on the level of, Kubrick or something,
Yeah.
when they did that. But they made all the right choices, and they ended up with a film that, is something that will have lasting value, I think,
Yeah.
and inspired the whole genre.
The whole, yeah, created. Well, I mean, there's some question about whether that was first or there was a movie called The Final Broadcast.
Yeah, last
Which was
broadcast.
about the Jersey Devil. I think that may have
It came
been
first.
filmed first, but came out afterwards. I remember watching on it premiered on Showtime, like in '99 or something.
But it wasn't as good. It wasn't
No,
as
no.
effective. And the truth is that there were other found footage movies. I mean, Cannibal Holocaust, isn't
Cannibal
there?
Holocaust. Yeah, we talked about that one. Yeah.
And there are a number of other films and TV shows that try to look like documentaries.
Documentary. Yeah.
So it wasn't a completely new thing, even when the last broadcast did it. But who cares? If you borrow an idea like that, that's not like stealing a story.
The story, yeah.
You just borrow, you're influenced by the form of storytelling. That's a different thing.
I think what they done right that I guess the Final Broadcast didn't do was the advertising. This is a real, this really happened. Here's a website devoted to finding these kids, and it doesn't have anything associated with any kind of movie or anything on it at all,
Oh, it was brilliant advertising.
Yeah, they had that fake documentary that came on Sci-Fi Channel that was about the Blair Witch and all that. I was like, that's great.
But a lot of
You
people seem to feel,
unless you grew up around those actors, you just assumed they weren't real
they were real
actors.
people. Right?
I never heard of them.
I think that a lot of people that maybe had some aspirations to be filmmakers themselves, particularly horror filmmakers, they were resentful of the fact that somebody beat them to that.
Yeah.
Because it looks like such an easy thing, right? And I've heard that from so many people over the years. I could do that.
Yeah. And why didn't I think of that?
Yeah, but if that's the case, why didn't you do it?
Yeah.
I mean, if it's such a slam dunk thing, why didn't you do it? And the other thing that they try to make us believe is that the movie wasn't any good. It was just the way they sold it that made
Yeah.
it popular. Well, let's be honest, the movie made over $100 million.
Oh yeah.
You can't trick, people that
Yeah. No,
much.
nobody went and saw it just because it was advertised well.
No,
Yeah.
and certainly
Like
the
I
word would
hated
get
that
out.
movie, but the commercial was so great I had to go watch it again.
The what folks don't realize, if they're not people that were paying close attention to that film when it was still in festivals, there was a lot of talk about that movie before it ever received a release.
Yeah.
I remember reading Cine Fantastique review of it well before its release, and they
Right.
raved about it. So the idea that somehow it was just the advertising campaign that
Yeah.
tricked everybody into thinking it was a good movie. Well, the folks that are like accountants saying, they didn't spend enough. Oh, that's why, if there's a reason why these critics haven't made good horror movies themselves, it's because that's the thinking they had, that you
Yeah.
just spend more money to get a better movie.
And they did that later with the Blair Witch.
Right. They
Spent more money. Didn't look the same, and they showed the witch at the end. It was horrible.
right. So they proved the original
Critics
film
wrong. Yeah.
was right. They should have not done all of those things, and they
Yeah.
shouldn't have made the movie at all, actually.
Yeah.
But the first film, I think, is a terrific horror movie, and it has a lot of stuff in it that is connected into other
Yep.
classic horror stuff.
It'll set on those lists along with The Exorcist and The Omen and
I think
Rosemary's
so.
Baby.
And I think it also is very revealing of human nature. I think we've spoken about this before, but a lot of the critics complain because they say these characters are so stupid that they end up roaming around in the woods without it, and they can't escape. But I think that's an accurate depiction of human nature. I think that's even the most intelligent person in a situation like that tends to do stupid things.
Yep.
So yeah, Blair Witch, I think is a solid film.
Oh yeah.
But so anyway, have we exhausted our audience enough?
Yeah, we probably have. Yeah.
Well, I guess this is the last show before Halloween.
Before Halloween, hopefully I can get this one. I should be able to get this one edited and put up actually on Halloween. So
that'd be nice. Yeah.
I can get, because it's what next? What's today's what? Today's Tuesday.
Tuesday.
Today's Monday.
Monday, the 24th. Yeah.
So I have an entire week to get it edited and put up.
That's right. You have no excuses.
No, should have no problem. I mean, that's all I do now. I just go to work, come home, and edit these until I'm done with them.
Well, it's a good life.
Nothing else. Yeah.
And it's presumably what you want to be doing. It's satisfying, personally.
Oh yeah,
satisfying,
I enjoy it. I didn't think I would enjoy the editing part of it as much as I do. So.
Well, I love editing. I love editing everything. It's just that for such a long time, my computer was acting up, and that it was so suspenseful. I never knew when the computer was going to die.
When it's going to die, yeah.
And it did eventually. And fortunately, I was able to get another computer that's like it. So I'm back editing again. But I was working in Photoshop on this computer, on the new used computer.
Yeah.
And it was such a relief to know that I could, be working with these giant files and not have to constantly worrying about the computer freezing or screaming.
Yeah.
So
I did pick these up the other day. This one here was made in West Virginia. It's called Brutality. It's like an anthology.
That certainly looks brutal.
It's real cheap and bad, but
effective cover.
Yeah, locally made. So I figured I'll go and support them. And then this one here was also made in West Virginia. I haven't watched it yet. It's Killer Camp Out.
Killer Camp Out is another effective. I think I've seen that cover art before. Yeah,
these are both from Wide Eyed Releasing, I guess.
Oh yeah, I've heard of them. Yeah.
And then they were 3 for $20, so I told the guy just pick another one out and I'll get it. So he had me get Swamp Head.
Okay. So
which again, we're getting that same. We're getting that same effect you were talking about there with the light. But
yes, there you go.
Yeah.
Well, I think if I was wondering who was buying DVDs anymore, you answered that question.
Oh, there you go. Yeah.
So there's a market for even for these smaller films.
Yeah.
That's good to know.
I was actually looking. I was looking some more today. There's some Giallo films that I might try to pick up. The Arrow Video. They have like the they're called Giallo. I can't remember exactly what they call, but it's like a 3 movie set, and they're like the yellow edition, the red edition, So
Mm.
they had different ones. I may pick up some of those.
Yeah, those might be worth having. Yeah,
Yeah.
they look like good. These are DVDs or Blu-rays?
They're Blu-rays.
Mhm.
And Arrow always puts out good stuff there.
Well,
Their
nowadays, I
products are always
guess
good.
might as well buy the Blu-ray if it's available, right?
Oh yeah. Of course, most of the time if you buy the Blu-ray, it comes with the DVD anyway. So
Oh, that's right. Yeah, so
yeah.
that's yeah.
Just like if you get the 4K. Like I bought a 4K. I don't have a 4K player, but I bought a 4K because it was 4K and the Bluray, so I can watch the Blu-ray. And if I ever do get a 4K player, I've already got the
You're
movie.
all
So
set. Yeah.
yeah.
Is that a pricey item?
I think it was like maybe $10 more.
Oh,
But I got like it was that the everything everywhere all at once. But I got
oh,
like the
right. Yeah.
Walmart exclusive, so it was actually just a little bit more. But
There's demonstration of Walmart's power. They have
yeah,
exclusive
yeah,
versions of those.
yeah.
It's like the Blockbuster days, right? Matter of fact,
Blockbuster, yeah.
we didn't mention this in the show, but Blockbuster actually had Halloween as an exclusive release for a while.
And did they?
Yeah, as a matter of fact, I owned a VHS copy that was sort of like after they would rent them for a while, they would sell them
Sell
as
them,
a
yeah.
used tape. I had for a while the Halloween that has on it, Blockbuster name.
Oh, okay.
But they did that with a couple of movies. They wanted to be able, I guess they wanted to be able to claim that they had exclusive rental
Yeah, the only
rights.
way you can see it now is come get it from Blockbuster.
Right, right.
I wonder what they paid for that. I wonder if they pay to be the exclusive rental,
It's
VHS rental.
it is kind of similar to what the streaming channels are doing now, though, right?
Yeah,
Because they're buying catalogs of films and studios so that they can have certain product that they can basically give away to
yeah.
their subscribers. Bono was just talking, I guess it was an excerpt from some book he has coming out about what a mistake it was to do that release of one of his albums on when Apple introduced the iPod. Was it
Oh
the
yeah,
iPod?
everybody that bought one just got the album. They just gave this album to everybody.
Right. And for some
Being
reason,
forced onto you. You can't
people
delete
really
it.
were upset by that.
Yeah.
I don't really know, to be honest with you, I don't know why, but apparently Tim Cook, was it Tim Cook or was it Steve Jobs?
I think Steve Jobs was still around back then.
Well, whoever it was, apparently he was skeptical about that this would work. Uh, his argument was the whole thing that Apple is doing is trying to find a way so that artists can make money from their stuff,
Yeah.
not to be giving it away for free. But Bono made the argument very similar to what we were just talking about, that you buy it, Apple buys it, and then you give it away for free.
Yeah.
That's what these streaming companies are doing, right?
Oh
They
yeah.
buy up this product and they spend a lot of money to make their own product. I mean, Netflix isn't really making movies;
No.
they're paying other people to make movies with their brand on it, right? So, and then they give that away to their subscribers for free.
I
So,
think they actually I guess actually produce the Stranger Things.
well, it depends on what you mean by produce. I assume everybody who's working there is
I mean,
technically.
I don't think they bought that from someone else. I think
Oh yeah, no, they're not
they
buying a
actually
finished
paid to have
product.
it made. Yeah.
It's being made under their control, and
Yeah.
they're financing it. But I mean, to say this is even true of the Hollywood studios. It's not like in the old days where a studio was a physical place that people would go and they would make the
Yeah.
movies right there, right under the supervision of Louis B. Mayer or whoever the boss of the studio was. Now, at a certain point that changed, and it's basically a bunch of independent people, production companies or independent directors, producers that pitch ideas to the studio, and they say, "Okay, do that," and the arrangement is they pay for it, and then they
Yeah.
distribute it. But I mean, the only reason that it's an important distinction is that with certain studios like MGM and Warner, there was a certain look and feel to their movies. There was
Right. Yeah.
there was a style that they did their films in, and there were certain stories that they would tell. Whereas Netflix, I don't think we could really say this is a Netflix style. Is
No.
there? I mean, I
Not
don't watch
really.
it that much to know,
No.
but and Disney, I guess you could say that Disney has a style, but it's partially the style that was created by Walt Disney with the old movies, which it was very much in the old days of the studios, the Hollywood studios, combined with all these other companies, the style that all these other companies that they've bought, like Pixar and Marvel, and
Yeah.
So I don't think you could say that the Pixar films or the Marvel films have the Disney style to them, but they're certainly
Yeah.
owned and financed by Disney.
Yeah.
So maybe it's a distinction that's not worth making anymore. But
Right. Yeah.
I think that we talked about Tubi doing their originals,
Originals. Yeah.
and I've seen a couple of those now, and I don't think you could say that there was any similarity between any of them. They
No.
have certain things that they apparently insist on, as far as it has to be widescreen, color, high definition. And I guess they look for certain genres, horror and things like that.
Yeah.
Although that might
Yeah.
be changing.
Yeah, I noticed they done. I mean, I guess they didn't make it, but one of their Tubi originals now is a Terror Train remake.
Oh, a remake. Oh,
Yeah.
just what we needed.
Just what we needed. Yeah, another remake.
So somebody had the rights to that, and they were sitting around thinking, how can I get rich like those Halloween people? And doing a remake
Yeah.
is the
What
only
if,
way.
what if they got David Copperfield to come back for it?
Was he in the original?
Yeah, he was in the original. Yeah,
Oh,
him and
so
Jamie Lee
yeah.
Curtis.
That's interesting. I know I saw that movie once many years ago, and I probably have a copy of it around somewhere,
Yeah.
but that's not one I go back to too often.
Maybe we can
Um,
cover that one for New Year's because I think it's a New
oh,
Year's
oh, is
movie.
that New Year's
Yeah,
thing?
I
Yeah.
think the train that they're on is like a New Year's Eve party.
Well, isn't there a movie called New Year's Evil or
New Year's Eve.
something?
Yeah, we covered that one before.
Oh, you did? All right.
Yeah.
Well, all the holiday movies we should
Yeah.
probably try to
Let's
cover.
try to do. Yeah. I
was
definitely want to do Black Christmas. And we haven't done that one yet.
that would definitely be worth
Yeah.
doing. Yeah, there's a lot that could be said about that movie, I think.
Oh,
I was surprised. It had been so long since I watched The Fog. I had forgotten that Jamie Lee Curtis was in that.
and that one, yeah.
That's remarkable. I always think of that as an Adrian Barbeau
Barbo
movie.
movie. Yeah.
But anyway,
I was going to tell you too. I was stumbled across one of the channels on my Roku. There's a Film Rise documentary channel where they just show all documentaries.
all about
I know-
all about filmmaking.
No, just different documentaries. I know you'd
Oh.
mentioned before you like documentaries.
Oh, that's right.
I
Yes.
came
yeah.
across that channel.
Oh,
It's called it's Film Rise.
I'll have
Is
to
the name
see.
of because they got different ones: Film Rise horror, Film Rise comedy, and they've got the documentary one.
Well, I'll seek that out. That's yeah, documentaries can be a nice change of pace if you get
Oh yeah,
tired
I
of
like 'em.
sequels and remakes.
Yeah.
Nobody ever remakes documentaries. I
No,
don't.
they don't. I wonder why.
Oh, and they don't do sequels to them either.
No.
Interesting. Not that I can think of. So that's one thing that documentaries have going for them.
Yeah.
But anyway, well, I guess happy Halloween
Oh,
wishes
yeah.
are in order. Hope everybody who's listening gets whatever trick or treats they want, and hope everybody is safe and has a good time. And
Hope nobody gets
watches.
any razor blades in their candy or fentanyl, I guess.
I guess that's the latest.
That's the
thing.
big thing now. Our drug dealers are just giving away their drugs.
They're giving it away for free. It's a free
Yeah.
sample. Yes.
Yeah.
On razor blades.
Yeah.
It's a very elaborate process.
Yeah.
I would have thought that razor blades would be enough, but I guess now we have to have drugged apples.
Have to have drugs. Yeah.
People are too smart for us.
It's easier to find the razor blades now.
See, the funny thing is the last thing that kids do is eat the apples.
Yeah.
It's the first thing that goes in the garbage, right? They want to be successful. They should we shouldn't tell them.
Yeah, we shouldn't tell them how to do it.
We should not give people ideas on how to kill innocent children. That's not,
Yeah.
we don't want to be known for that. Right?
No.
But so anyway, well, I guess that's all that we can think of to say.
Yep. Until we come back and do it again for
All
our
right.
next movie, which I don't know what that'll be yet.
Well, we got something to think about, I guess.
Yeah.
Happy Halloween. See
Yep.
you soon.
Yep.